Hello, my name is Blake Patterson, and welcome to Afro Reviews. Since West Side Story left me moved and surprised, I thought it was an ideal time to do a top 10 list for Spielberg's best movies. Now, just to be clear, a ranking of a filmmaker's work is a temporary mindset. The movies never change, but we do. Also, you will disagree with my choices, so remember the importance of subjectivity. If you agree with each choice, I must understand you more because you might be a spiritual twin. Steven Spielberg is without a doubt the most popular mainstream filmmaker of the last 50 years. His films have transported millions to unique worlds unlike our own. Spielberg was one of the first filmmakers I ever knew as a child, and I grew up with a lot of his movies. In a strange sense, I always felt like Spielberg was the grandfather I never had. When he made movies for kids, it felt like Spielberg cared about our feelings, whether they were fortunes or hardships. I will always have respect for Spielberg as a filmmaker due to this nostalgia. Anyways, here are a few honorable mentions. Amistad, Catch Me If You Can, The Color Purple, Duel, and Jurassic Park. Number 10, Raiders of the Lost Ark. As I express in my Best of 1981 video, Raiders of the Lost Ark is my favorite Indiana Jones installment. It was the one VHS tape of the first three movies I revisited the most. From the opening escape sequence to the melting Nazis, Raiders of the Lost Ark is reminiscent of an adventure serial, yet you forget its conventions due to the sheer power of Spielberg's filmmaking. Number 9, Empire of the Sun. Empire of the Sun was a movie I had seen once or twice before, but I reacted to the film strongly earlier this year. This is an anti-war drama through the eyes of a child who is trying to make it back to his family. It is a moving piece of filmmaking, and Christian Bale is tremendous as the young boy Jim. From my perspective, I think people underrate this movie when they talk about Spielberg. Number 8, Saving Private Ryan. If you had asked me about this film 3 years ago, I would have told you Saving Private Ryan was a masterpiece. After my recent viewing, I will not go as far as to call it a masterpiece because there are a few details where Spielberg is trying too hard to appease the audience. However, I still think it is an incredible war drama where the thrills match the morals. In terms of war dramas this century, none of them can top this movie. Number 7, Munich. Munich is as daring as a political thriller from the New Hollywood era. The film is a late-career masterpiece with post-9/11 weight, and it historically and psychologically addresses how violence begets violence. Spielberg bravely examines the divide between the Israelis and Palestinians after the massacre at the 1972 Summer Olympics. Munich concludes with a powerful ending that speaks volumes about terrorism. Number 6, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Close Encounters of the Third Kind was a Spielberg movie I appreciated more as a teenager than as a child. When I officially loved it, I recognized Close Encounters as an allegory about communication and facing the unknown despite the consequences. Richard Dreyfuss is excellent as a man who detaches himself from his family due to his obsession with a UFO. The sequence when the aliens abduct Barry is one of the most terrifying moments in film, and I love how Francois Truffaut, the filmmaker from the French New Wave, is in this. Number 5, West Side Story. As you should know by now, I love Spielberg's adaptation of West Side Story. The thrill, magic, and beauty of it all. By focusing on racial and class oppression, Spielberg creates a grand piece of art where the music is joyful and the tragedy is heartbreaking. Even in its 50s setting, the movie unfortunately speaks for our times as the world wallows in hatred and violence. It sucks how this movie is not making any money, but each of you should see it before the theatrical run ends. Number 4, Schindler's List. Schindler's List is arguably the most important film of Spielberg's career, and rightfully receives recognition as one of his best films. With lush black and white cinematography, Spielberg adapts a true story about one selfish man who ended up saving the lives of 1,000 Jews into a haunting indictment of intolerance and how innocence decays amid bigotry. It was the first film when critics decided to take Spielberg seriously and not as an entertainer. Number 3, E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Oh, there have been too many people who told me I was ignorant for loving E.T. When I refer to Spielberg as a spiritual grandfather, E.T. immediately comes to mind as it is a heartwarming story of an unlikely friendship between a boy and an alien. E.T. is profound in its allegorical nature and pathos, and it rings true each time I view it. I also frequently think about John Williams' masterful score, because it and this film are too pure for this world. When critics said Schindler's List was Spielberg's first serious film, they must have forgotten E.T. Number 2, AI, Artificial Intelligence. AI is one of the most radical cinematic experiences of my life. I always thought this movie was flawed due to the awareness of Kubrick. Then I observed it again, and it struck me like few films ever have. In this underrated film, Spielberg examines the inner child, oppression, and the importance of compassion through the story of a robot who wants his human mother. To say it will tear you apart emotionally is an understatement, and it is probably Spielberg's best film. However, the final motion picture on this list has more seminal value. Number 1, Jaws. Jaws is a part of my genesis as a cinephile. At the age of 5, I was in awe of what Spielberg crafted, and it has never lost its energy after 16 years. It is my favorite horror movie of all time, and I love how it takes its time to develop these characters. There are wonderfully funny scenes between Richard Dreyfuss and Robert Shaw as they fight to see who is more macho, and one of my favorite sequences in the film is a lovely moment between Roy Scheider's Chief Brody and his son at a dinner table. It is a scene that foreshadows Spielberg's innocence as a filmmaker. Despite what someone arrogantly told me, the shark and action sequences have not aged one bit. They are parts of what makes Jaws a perfect film. Each film from this list represents a part of who I am as a cinephile, and I credit Spielberg as one of the influential masters among my pantheon. Spielberg might be in his 70s, but I am sure he will surprise me again. Since I would like to start conversations with you, tell me what your top 10 Spielberg movies would be in the comments section. Thank you for watching this video. Have a great night.